Welcome back to the channel, and today we're talking about chains. Alright, so what are we talking about today? So we're talking about what type of change we get in the bikes, the modern bikes that we ride today. Secondly, what is the frequency to give maintenance to the chain, and why and when? And lastly, why is it so important? First of all, take a look at the video and I'll show you how I do it and how I've been able to be successfully cleaning up and maintaining chains to the point where I can get more than 20,000 miles on a single chain, and even beating on it, going to the track and commuting and doing everything you can imagine with a bike. Secondly, what are the different chains that we can find in modern bikes? So modern bikes, you're gonna find your traditional O-rings, which that just means that there are O-rings, rubber O-rings on the end plate, just keeping a sealed area in the middle where the pins are, just to keep in all that grease and all that lubrication inside to ensure long life of your chain. And then you can also find the X-ring. X-rings are it was more a discovery done by people going to a track. They found out that the O-rings actually have a bigger surface in the area where the O-rings are, and by twisting, going left to right, and actually pushing the limits of a chain, they realized that was causing drag, and the X-ring actually came to fix that. They came to provide a less amount of surface area where the pins are in relation with the actual rubber inserts that are keeping the chains in place, and that allows for less drag and more speed. And so you don't need necessarily that chain, and you can probably just be okay with an O-ring if you're not necessarily doing tracks all the time. But if you do, those are gonna help you with having a little bit more longevity, and also will probably just give you more speed. But I think it's maybe negligible for a daily commuter. And lastly, how often do I clean my chain? So normally you will read on any books that says 500 miles is a great place for you to stop your bike, take a look at your chain, and see the condition, and clean it, and then just add some sort of lubrication to it. And in addition to that, you want to take into consideration the environment you're in. I live in Arizona. There's dust, there's sand, and it gets super hot in the summer. So I'm taking those things into account when I give maintenance to my motorcycle. And when I'm commuting to work on a daily basis on my bike under those conditions, chances are I will do it almost on a weekly basis. So you want to do it as needed and just taking into consideration your conditions where you ride. Secondly, if you wash your bike with water and water gets in with soap and dirt and everything else on your chain, you might want to clean it up. So even if you're not due for a cleanup or a lubrication, if you wash your bike or she gets exposed to things where it just needs to be cleaned, but you're better off just cleaning up and putting some lubrication. So with that out of the way, take a look at the video and enjoy the process of cleaning the chain. First, start by lifting the bike from the rear using a rear stand. Although it's not required, I like to use a container just so I can pick up any debris or any excess oil. Now you'll need WD-40, some sort of lubricant, brushes, and a rag. This is a great opportunity to do a visual inspection. My first step is just to pick a reference point in the chain. In my case, I have a blue chain link that makes it super easy and super convenient. So that's where I start, and then I'll start going in the same direction. And when I hit the same link, I know that I just did a full turn. And at that point, I will make a decision whether or not I have to give it more, cleaning, or maybe a second hand or whatnot. Secondly, at this point, I'm just using my an old toothbrush with a little bit of WD-40 just so I can break down the dirt, and then I'll come back with a rag and I just clean it up to make sure that I'm taking off the excess and all the dirt that I'm removing from the chain. Also, I transition to my other brush, which is the one that has like the three different set of bristles, and which is going to be cleaning 3 areas of the chain at the same time, and I just keep turning side to side just so I can cover the entire chain. It's very important that you can also use kerosene, which is actually my favorite thing to use, just so I can break down the dirt on the chain, and kerosene nor the WD-40 will harm your O-rings. And after a few passes, you can tell, chain feels clean, and now it looks great. So now we're moving up to the next task. Something that's very, often overlooked is people just, cleaning up their chain and then just cleaning up and lubing the chain, but then forgetting about the sprocket. So at this point, I'm showing you're going to pick up a place in your sprocket where you're going to be starting to, either applying a little bit of, kerosene or WD-40 to your rack, and you can just clean it up, because normally if you have, kept up the cleaning up your sprockets are not gonna get super dirty. But if you have a lot of like gummed up dirt, you might wanna pull a brush and then just agitate that dirt and then just clean it up with a rack the same way you did your sprocket. It's very important, because if you don't do that, then the dirt on the sprocket is gonna end up on the chain. So you're better off just having both clean, and that way the chain's gonna stay cleaner the longest. It's also very important not to forget that you have two faces for each of these elements. So on the chain you have 4 different faces: top, the 2 sides, and then the bottom. And then on the sprocket you want to clean the outside as well as the inside. So right now I'm just with the rack. I'm just going through the back side of the sprocket just to ensure that the back side is as clean as the front one. And now with the rear sprocket clean as well as the chain, I will use my modification that I did some time ago to actually open up the front cover on my sprocket. And I'm just going to use it as a great opportunity for myself to take a look at the sprocket in terms of what condition it's in, and as well as just to use it as a place to clean it up. So I apologize, you guys are probably going to have to remove the entire cover and clean it up, but in my case this is a great opportunity for me just to take a peek and also just clean it up super conveniently by not having to remove any covers. Alright, so with a clean chain, I do the same thing. I'm just picking up a reference point. So I'm starting on my blue chain link, and I'm putting a rack underneath the chain, and I'm just going to be spraying, section by section until I know that I go at least one time. When I see that, blue link again, that means that I just lubricated the entire chain, at least from this side, which is the upper side, which is gonna be end up being the portion that's gonna be touching the sprocket. So once I get a full turn, I will be done on this section. I want to say maybe this is optional, but in my case, I always like to go back and then just add a little bit of, lubrication, paying attention or actually focusing on the right side, which is the inside, because that side does not get covered the same way I apply the lubricant when I was, applying underneath of the bike. So right now I'm just giving, more focus on that side just to ensure that I have full coverage on the entire chain. And just like that, you are done. Now you have a clean chain and a chain that's gonna be lasting, in a good condition for a while. So this is how it looks. Just remember that it feels fresh, and now it's a matter of just, go out riding and ensuring that in a couple months or maybe in a couple weeks, you're just gonna come back and ensure that, still keeping it clean and still, lubricated, just so there's not a whole lot of binding, and then this chain is gonna last for a long time. It's not that complicated, and you don't have to make it super difficult. You just have to take a look at it, clean it up a bit, and then just add a little bit of a lubricant, and you should be good to go. And if you do that every so often, or at least every 500 miles or every couple months or whatnot, you should be good to go. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please just go ahead and send me a comment or just send me an email. Stay cool.